Benoit.
Brandon, are you ready for us?
Yes, ma'am.
Live stream it?
Yes, ma'am.
We're ready to
Okay.
go.
I'd like to call this special call meeting for the Rockcastle County Board of Education to order. The first thing on our agenda is a moment of silent prayer. Amen. Item 1B is our roll call. Let the minutes reflect who is on the meeting. Item 1C is the reading of board team commitments. We're not going to do that at this moment. Item 2 is adopt the agenda. No changes can be made, so I need a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Motion.
We have
Second.
a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item 3 is discussion and actions. 3A is review and approve the KSBA policy and procedure updates for the 25-26. This is the second reading of that. Dr. Ballinger, is there anything you need to add?
Yes, I do. We're asking you to go ahead and approve this now because Senate Bill 181 goes into effect June 27th, and part of the policies and procedures you are approving the second reading on has the parent waiver consent form within the documents. So we need to have that approved before the law goes into effect June 27th. The other thing I want to point out, in this policy, this is in reflection of a new law that was implemented. Our school nurses are no longer going to be able to give medication, over-the-counter medication such as Tylenol, ibuprofen, Benadryl, anything of the sort, without a doctor's order. So we approved, when you approved these policies last week, we approved the first reading of that. However, when Mr. Reppert was going back through it, he found a contradiction in the policy that KSBA sent us and the law. He reached out to KSBA and they confirmed, yes, Mr. Reppert was correct. They made a mistake. So we're asking you to approve these policies with us pulling this health service consent policy out. It will be the first reading, and then we'll bring that back to you again for the second reading at our next board meeting with the amended change that Mr. Reppert caught. I know that was a lot,
Okay.
but we have to fix
we
this
are
mistake.
For the second reading of all of the policy and procedure updates, with the exception of the one
Health
that
service consent.
Carrie just mentioned about administering medication as far as Tylenol, ibuprofen, over-the-counter stuff. So with that being said, I need well, hold on just a second. We'll go over this with Anna. She's hopped on here. Anna?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. So we are currently approving our policy and procedure update with, this is the second reading. This is going to be one exemption to that. There was a mistake. It's contradictory as far as medication, Tylenol, ibuprofen being able to be administered by school nurses. So that is going to have to be changed, and Dr. Ballinger they're getting that changed, and we'll be doing that at our next meeting, correct, Carrie?
Actually we have made the change, and so when you approve this policy will be the first reading. We'll do the second reading. We'll do the second of the corrected one at our next meeting. And what I have done, we have struck out, there was a clause that said, I understand that non-prescription medications can only be given for 3 days without a physician's order. KSBA made a mistake. That clause should not have been in there, so we have struck that and asking you to approve for a first reading that strike.
Okay. With that being said, do you have any questions, Anna?
No, so they can't give that medication, correct?
They cannot. The new law states that our school nurses cannot give any over-the-counter medication without a doctor's order. So if Dr. Callie if your child needs an ibuprofen at school, Dr. Callie is going to have to write an order for that.
For each and every time, or just
We
for the year?
Well, we are still clarifying. Dr. Callie and Mr. Reppert have a meeting next week to try to work through it um, to see what they can work out. But so I don't know the answer to that. We're hoping we can just do a blanket prescription for ibuprofen and it not have to be all the time because Dr. Callie can't do that. That is not feasible.
No, there's no way.
So we're working on it, Anna, and I'll come back with the clarification after they have their meeting next week.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. With that being said, need a motion to approve this policy and procedure update with the clarification that Dr. Ballinger made.
So moved.
We have a first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item 3B is review and approve the Senate Bill 181 compliance for exclusive traceable communication systems for school district employees and volunteers to communicate with students.
Yes, so Senate Bill 181 requires the local board of education to approve a list of traceable communication apps for our employees and volunteers to be able to communicate with our students. If they communicate with students outside this board approved policy list, then they are in violation of the law unless they have a parent consent form signed and on file. You just approved the parent consent form in the policy, so we have that approved now. So I'm going to read you this list just so you make sure that you know what it is. We can communicate with students through our district email account, through Google Workspace for Education, which would be all of our Google Classrooms, all of that we use for education, Microsoft 365, which is Word, Aptigee Rooms, that is going to be our new platform. You all have already approved that contract. That is going to be our text messaging system for coaches, teachers, anybody to be able to communicate. It is traceable. We can see what what those communication looks like. Aptigee Thrill Share, this is the platform we use to share our district website, our Facebook, our district Twitter, and I have noted on here this will be one-way communication, so we will be required to turn off all comments because a student could not comment on a district Facebook post because then we would be electronically communicating with students. So this will be one-way communication, so we are just putting information out only. Infinite Campus, Pair Assessment, Zello, Imagine, Edgenuity, Blackboard Canvas, Dual Enroll. Blackboard Canvas, Dual Enroll, that's what our dual credit kids will use for their dual credit classes, so we have to approve that so they can communicate with their educators. Go Guardian Classroom is another platform that our teachers use. And then I have put our school level social media pages, and again, that's one-way communication. So if Andrew Cash wants to have a boys basketball Facebook page to share information or to share a win or to highlight a student, he can do that, but all comments have to be turned off or he would be potentially interacting inappropriately with the student. So this is going to be a huge adjustment. We'll get through it. We're working already on training our staff, and I have a parent communication piece to go out this afternoon after you all approve these sites.
I think this is a great idea.
It's good. It has some issues within the law that I think our legislators are going to have to readdress when they go in, Anna. One of those being the definition of what family is, because in that definition, if a stepchild is living in your home and you're an employee, you can't text your stepchild because they're not in the family definition. Foster children, If you have a foster child and you're a school employee, you can't interact at all with your foster child through the phone. So they're gonna, there's,
Wow.
well, they'll have to have parent consents on file. So there's some issues. It's great on the surface, but there's issues that they're gonna have to work through.
Oh, wow, that's a mess.
Yeah.
And this is a mess, but I want to commend Terry and our staff for their work. As usual, we're ahead of the game in leading the way on it, and it'll be, we're doing a great job. So Terry, thank you for your leadership on this.
Well, it's not just me. Brandon's been studying. We've all been trying to study and find the ins and outs, and I've been consulting with multiple attorneys and just trying to make sure we're getting it right, because I never like to say this is what it's going to be and then have to come back a week later and say, oh, just kidding, now it's this. You know, that's just
Yeah.
not a good look.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
there's gonna be some of that. Go ahead, Angie. Oh, no.
I was just gonna ask, so uh, I'm sorry, I did not read that. Can you hear me?
Yes,
I
I
have a
sure
very
can.
bad place where I'm at. I'm not sure. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
What is what punishment will happen if a staff member is caught doing that?
If they're a certified staff member, so a teacher, principal, anybody that's certified, then I'm under obligation of the law to report them to the standards board. So there'll be an investigation into it. And then if they're a classified employee, of course, we can't report them to the standards board, but we deal with it internally. If they're a volunteer, then they are no longer allowed to volunteer in the school district. So,
Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Ballinger? No?
No.
Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor by raising your hand?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. The last thing is the motion to adjourn. I want to thank each of you for showing up and doing this today during the middle of the day. So thank you for your time. We have a motion on the adjourn.
I second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
just
Okay.
Sorry, I was a few
Terry,
minutes
thank you
late,
so
guys.
much. We hope everyone has a great weekend.
thank